You've been saving money wrong your entire life. And no, this isn't clickbait. Right now, somewhere in a bank account, your money is sitting there, quiet, untouched, feeling safe. And that feeling? That's the trap. Because while you were being responsible, while you were doing exactly what your parents told you, what your teachers told you, what every financial advisor on television told you to do, something else was happening in the background. Your money was dying. Slowly, silently, every single day. And by the time most people realize it, it's too late to fix it the easy way. So today, we're going to break down exactly why the way you were taught to save money is broken, why the system was never designed for you to win, and what people who actually understand money, the early Bitcoin buyers, the crypto traders, the people quietly stacking digital assets while everyone else argues about it on the news, are doing instead. This isn't financial advice. This is a wake-up call. Let's get into it.
Point number 1. Your savings account isn't a safe. It's a leak. Here's the story nobody tells you. You open a savings account. The bank tells you it's safe. And technically, they're right. The number in that account will not go down. But here's what they don't say out loud. That number staying the same doesn't mean your money is staying the same. Every year, prices rise. Groceries, rent, gas, insurance. That's inflation. And on average, it eats away 2, 3, sometimes 5% or more of your money's real value every single year. Meanwhile, the average savings account pays you a fraction of a percent in return. Some pay basically nothing. Do the math on that. If inflation is outpacing your interest rate, you are not saving money. You are watching it evaporate in slow motion, and your bank is calling it security. This is the part that breaks people's brains the first time they hear it. The money in your savings account today will buy less a year from now. Guaranteed. Not maybe. Guaranteed. The dollar, like every fiat currency in history, is designed to lose value over time. It's not a bug. It's the system working exactly as intended. And this is exactly why so many people started looking outside the traditional system altogether. Because if the currency itself is built to shrink, then saving it isn't saving anything. It's just a slower way to lose. This is one of the core reasons Bitcoin exists in the first place. Not as a trend, not as a meme, as a direct response to a currency system that quietly punishes the people who trust it the most.
Point number 2. Every dollar has 3 jobs, and you were only ever taught to give it 1. Here's something almost nobody explains to you growing up. Money isn't meant to just sit there. Money has jobs to do, and there are 3 of them. Job 1, spending. Covering your life, your bills, your needs today. Job 2, saving. Building a cushion, an emergency fund, breathing room for when life throws something at you. Job 3, growing. Putting money to work so it multiplies over time. So future you has more than present you started with. Most people were only ever taught job 1 and job 2. Spend what you need, save the rest. That's it. That's the whole lesson. Nobody sat us down and explained the 3rd job, the growth job. Because frankly, most of the adults teaching us were never taught it either. And this is exactly where the gap opens up. Because the people who quietly build wealth aren't doing anything magical. They're just giving their money all 3 jobs instead of 2. A portion goes to living, a portion goes to a safety cushion, and a portion goes somewhere that has a real chance to outpace inflation. Stocks, real assets. And for a growing number of people, crypto assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which were specifically designed with scarcity built into their code. Think about that phrase for a second. Scarcity built into the code. Bitcoin will only ever have 21 million coins, ever. No central bank can print more when they feel like it. No committee can vote to create more supply out of thin air. That scarcity isn't a marketing slogan. It's mathematically enforced by the blockchain itself, permanently, forever. Compare that to the dollar in your savings account.
which can be, and regularly is, expanded by trillions with the push of a button. One of those systems is designed to protect your future value. The other was never designed to. Point number 3. Compounding doesn't care how you feel about risk. Here's a truth that stings a little. The reason just save your money feels safe is emotional, not mathematical. Watching a number in your bank app slowly, safely climb feels good. It feels controlled. It feels smart. But feeling safe and being safe are two completely different things. Compounding, the process where growth builds on top of growth, is the single most powerful force in personal finance. Warren Buffett didn't become one of the richest people alive by earning a huge return one year. He became that wealthy by staying in the game for decades, letting small gains snowball into massive ones. Here's the problem. Compounding needs growth to work with, and a savings account paying you next to nothing gives compounding almost nothing to build with. It's like trying to snowball with a handful of dust instead of snow. This is exactly why people started paying attention to assets that actually have room to grow, and why crypto trading and long-term crypto holding became such a massive shift for an entire generation. Not because it's a guaranteed win, nothing is, but because putting your money into an asset with real upside potential gives compounding something to actually work with.
Look at Bitcoin's history. It has had brutal crashes. No one is pretending otherwise. But it's also had cycles where early, patient holders saw the value of their holdings multiply many times over across a period of years. Ethereum, the blockchain that quietly powers a huge portion of the crypto and decentralized finance world, has followed similar boom and correction cycles. The people who understood the game weren't the ones trying to time the very bottom or the very top. They were the ones who understood one simple idea. Money that just sits still forever. Money that's given a real chance to grow has a real chance to change your life.
Point number 4. Blockchain technology quietly removed the middleman standing between you and your own money. This next point is the one that genuinely shifts how people see the entire financial system once they actually understand it. For your entire life, banks have controlled the pipes. They decide your interest rate. They decide the fees. They decide how fast or how slowly your money moves. You've never really had direct control. You've had permission. Blockchain technology changed that equation for the first time in modern history. At its core, a blockchain is just a shared, transparent ledger, a record book that isn't owned or controlled by any single bank, company, or government. It's maintained by thousands of computers around the world instead of one central authority. That might sound technical, but the real-world impact is simple. It means value can move directly between people, without a bank standing in the middle deciding what's allowed.
That's why crypto exists in currencies that move instantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No waiting 3 business days for a transfer to clear. That's why decentralized finance platforms let people earn yield directly, without a bank taking a cut in the middle. That's why for millions of people around the world in countries with unstable currencies, crypto isn't a speculative bet. It's a lifeline, a way to protect their money's value when their local currency is collapsing around them. This is bigger than price charts. This is about who actually controls your money. And for the first time, blockchain technology gave that control back to the individual instead of the institution.
Point number 5. The system was never designed to teach you this, and that's not an accident. Let's be honest about something uncomfortable. If everyone understood exactly how inflation, compounding, and asset ownership actually worked, fewer people would keep their money quietly parked in low-interest accounts for decades. Financial literacy was never a mandatory class. Nobody sat you down at 18 and explained the 3 jobs of money, or how scarcity-based assets work, or what a blockchain actually does. And that gap, that missing education, isn't neutral. It benefits a system that profits when you don't ask questions. Every time you leave money sitting still, out of fear, out of habit, out of simply not knowing there was another option, someone else is benefiting from that decision, not you. This is why the crypto space, for all its noise and chaos and headlines, represents something genuinely different. It's a generation of people teaching each other on channels exactly like this one, the things nobody taught them in school. Understanding wallets, understanding blockchain, understanding why owning a scarce, decentralized asset is fundamentally different from watching a number sit in a bank app, quietly shrinking in real value while everyone calls it safe. Knowledge closed that gap for you right now in the last few minutes. That's not nothing. That's the beginning of thinking about money completely differently for the rest of your life. So here's the takeaway. Saving money isn't wrong. Let's be clear about that. Having a cushion, having safety, having money set aside for emergencies, that will always matter. That will never stop mattering. But saving without growth is just slow motion loss, dressed up as responsibility. Money has 3 jobs, not 2. And the piece so many people leave out, the growth piece, the part where your money is given a real chance to outpace inflation through real assets, through understanding technology like blockchain, through educating yourself instead of running on autopilot, that's the piece that actually changes your future. You don't need to go all in on anything. You don't need to gamble your life savings tomorrow morning. What you need is to understand that the rules you were taught were incomplete. And now that you know that, you get to decide what you do with it. That's the whole game. Not working harder for money, understanding money well enough that it finally starts working for you. If this shifted the way you think, even a little, that's exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this one, where we take confusing financial and crypto concepts and turn them into something that actually makes sense. Drop a comment and tell me which point hit you the hardest. Because the truth is simple. You weren't taught this on purpose. Now you know it on purpose. And that changes everything.